G'day ladies and gents, and welcome back to Microsoft Flight Simulator with Mags, and welcome aboard the Beechcraft Baron G58. Today we're doing what I like to call the Birth of Anime flight, RJFU Nagasaki to RJOA Hiroshima. Today's flight is running real time along with weather as usual. It's currently just around 6 PM local time with the cloud layer at 2,500 feet and at around 10,000 feet. Flight time will be a little over an hour, although this will be edited down heavily in post, and the conversation is, well, really is going to be about current events. Anyways, ladies and gents, I hope you enjoy the flight. Right, and that'll do. Right. Parking brake is now on. Throttle up. Not that we really need to go up to full power, but we do this anyway, and there we go. Parking brake is released and we are rolling. The runway here is long enough to land an A320 on it without too much of an issue. We don't really need all of it for this one. Wobbly here. Go, and almost there. Start rotation. And straight up and beautiful. Gear is up. That is a pretty sky. Alright, so we're just going to head out to the end of the runway. Even for a 1070, this is still fairly pretty, and still pretty playable. You know, even running on medium settings like this. Although I... Yes, ATC. Acknowledge frequency change.
Nagasaki Tower, Beechcraft, Mike Alpha, Delta Alpha, India Romeo, frequency change.
Which one? Nope. I haven't flown this one all that often, so that's what I'm after. Okay, and we want navs are fine. What are we after? One, landing. Yes, okay, so landing lights are off. Yeah, for medium settings, this does look okay. Although I did manage to secure myself a 3080, although not one of the ones they had in stock. For a little while after they sold out in seconds down here, they allowed for taking orders of stock that was still coming in. I managed to get one of those before they stopped taking the orders as well. So I have an MSI, the Gaming X Trio. The 1815 boost clock top end MSI 3080 coming in. No idea when it'll arrive. It could arrive in a couple of weeks, could arrive in a month, could arrive in 2. I'm hoping it'll be sooner rather than later, but yeah, I decided to put the money down because I had it and at least secure one. So as soon as it arrives in from where I ordered it from, I think I ordered that one through PC Case Gear, it should get shot through to me, and that'll be good. It's actually going to be a fairly expensive year for updates. I was planning on 2020 being my year for PC updates, but I wasn't expecting things to quite work out the way they have. The other thing I'm going for at the moment, I've just actually got to wait for the AMD announcement for it, is because I'm running an AMD, I'm running a 2700X obviously, and it's a generation behind, but the 4th gen AMD stuff is coming out, and I recently found out the 4th gen stuff is actually going to be supported by my motherboard as well, so I don't have to do a full system upgrade. I can just buy the new CPU, and all it requires is a BIOS update, and I'll be able to run it. So I was going to grab a 3900 XT, but I think I'm going to grab something in the 4th gen, the 4000 series, to actually update the system to. And I figure with a 4th gen CPU and a 3080, I should be pretty good to run everything about as well as it can be run for at least a year or so. Well, be honest, that it will be at least 2. It'll be until the next gen stuff. It's whether or not you can completely max everything out and get the maximum frame rates, but I've been putting money aside for this for about 2 years at this point, so I don't do anything quickly. It's something I've noticed as I've been getting a little bit older. I'm not in quite as much of a rush to do things anymore. You know, I'm in my late 30s now, but when I do things now, it tends to be really expensive and really big all at once, which isn't a bad thing. Although I did have to do a bit of a trade-off with my wife. I had to try and explain to her how much a 3080 costs, how much a 4th gen CPU is likely to cost. I also got the new Virpil joystick. I had to explain to her how much that cost. And she let me have all of them. She is a wonderful woman. She let me have all of them. All I had to do is agree to buy her a new car. I think it's an acceptable trade. The cost is not as different as you might expect. So anyways, this particular flight, and this is beautiful. Look at that sky. Look at the reflections. So anyway, why are we doing this flight? Why are we doing Nagasaki to Hiroshima? Besides the obvious joke of the names, and obviously what pops into people's head when they think of those two names. And it's actually because of what pops into people's head. Everybody thinks about the bomb drop. I mean, I make the joke calling this the birth of anime flight, but the reality is this is actually a really, really beautiful part of the world. I love areas that have big waterways and lakes and river systems and mountains, and this area of the world is stunningly beautiful. And very few people know it. I mean, look at that. But very few people know it for anything beyond the bomb. Some mountains just peeking out of the clouds over there. And in the end, my Microsoft Flight Simulator videos, all the ones I've done so far are just to try and present different places in the world that are interesting to go to, places that people might not think about flying. Nippon 667, that's not me. Yeah, this is just about finding interesting places to fly. And this is a really beautiful place to fly. So what else am I going to be doing with Microsoft Flight Simulator in the future? Well, I discussed in my previous video where I flew into Lizard Island. I want a career mode in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and I honestly think Microsoft Flight Simulator should have had one by default. One should have been put in here by default. Unfortunately, it wasn't, and unless they add one in a later update, which God knows how long that'll be, if it ever happens at all, we're probably not going to see one. For some reason, I don't know why, but general aviation and commercial flight simulators are scared of the concept of career modes. They're terrified of them. No other simulator has this problem. Every single other simulation of any other kind of vehicle in any other kind of situation has a career mode, except general aviation and commercial flight simulation. That has only ever existed in mods. Now, I've been trying to create the Flight Sim Economy account that I mentioned last time. They're still locked down. I can't even create a community account, let alone actually creating a proper account at this point. So I'm actually going to roll up a OnAir account. Now, this is one of the premium ones. I really don't like the fact that there's a subscription service attached to it, but there is a 7-day trial. So I'm going to create a little company and mess around with it for a couple of days and just get a little bit of a feel to see what's there and at least show off the 7-day trial and exactly what's in there, and then I'll decide afterwards whether or not I actually pay the subscription to get access to it. It does look pretty slick. I have actually already created the account and created my company, but that's all I've done yet. There is a tutorial flight that I'm probably going to record off that gives you access to your first plane and starts the career, so I'm probably going to do that. I might even do that after this flight, to be perfectly honest. But anyways, the flight itself, the way it actually works is you select a point in the world that you want to start from. I was going to do Australia, but I chose not to create my company in Australia. I've actually created it in Tacoma, just outside of Seattle. I've actually done a lot of flights out of there. I really like doing Seattle International to Vancouver. It's a really nice flight. But that area of the world, you're about an hour out of Vancouver, even in a GA aircraft. You're only an hour and a half away from the mountains in Canada. A couple of hours and you're in Alaska. You can also nick down to the Midwest. You've got all the islands and waterways, which, as I mentioned, I kind of really like. I mean, this is just beautiful to fly over, and the area of terrain is fairly similar in that area of the world. So you've got that beautiful area to fly over with lots of close runways, and you've got an international airport nearby that you don't need to be based out of. But if you happen to get access to bigger aircraft later in your career, you can station them there and then be able to get to them. The RPMs, back them off just a little. Might have to tweak my controls a little bit on this end at the moment. Might have to look into getting some of the new button boxes that Virpil has been showing off. It looks like they've got a few extra axes on there, and that's always my problem with flight controls. There's just never enough axes, especially when you're dealing with stuff where you've got to manage mixture and prop pitch and anything, you know, World War II or general aviation. Anything that's got a prop up front, you can never have enough axes. There's just not enough. And Cloud War over there is gorgeous. Sunset, and there's these rivers of light that follow the waterways. Yeah, once again, if you're looking for a place to fly in Japan, or a place to fly anywhere in the world, not just in Japan, anywhere in the world, take this one for a spin. Just go for a bit of a cruise. Set it to, well, obviously, I will play with time every now and again. I'm running real time on this flight, but I will play with time if I need to fly or want to fly in certain lighting conditions. But I never turn off real weather. So leave the weather as it is, because the sim draws information. I've been told in some parts of the world it's not particularly accurate. What information it gets is a bit odd. But as a general rule, what it does is it pulls up whatever information it can locally and it tries to recreate it. And the recreation is always better than any of the default weather settings. So try and leave the weather settings as whatever conditions there are in the world are what you're flying in. Adjust your lighting to whatever time you particularly want to fly in, because obviously, you know, different people in different parts around the world, it's not always going to be daylight where you want to fly, or nighttime if you're into that, or you want that. And then just fly. That's how I do all my flights. I never touch the weather. If it's piss and rain and foggy, bad luck. You don't get, as a pilot, you don't always get to pick the conditions you're flying in. Sometimes it's just going to be some shitty weather, and that's what you got to deal with. I wish I had a map that had towns and cities marked. I'm pretty sure that's Nikitsu. And that should be Yokohashi. And that is a kind of intimidating wall of cloud that I'm really kind of hoping will be on the ground for before it gets here, because it does appear to be getting closer. Some frame drop there. I don't get too worried about the frame drops. Like it doesn't really affect gameplay that much. And considering I'm running this on a 1070 and it looks like this, I can deal with it. I've got a runway over there. Just trying to remember where that would be. That's the other side of the bay. I actually don't know the name of the bay off the top of my head. If anything, that's what I really need. If anybody knows of any mods, I've been looking for one, but I haven't found one yet, that puts in like a regular town and city map into the VFR map, or at least as an option, so you can check out the locations of actual cities and towns, rather than just runways to runway with no other information. Let me know in the comment section down below, because that is something that I want more than anything. In fact, that's something that should have been in this by default. Running a little north of the flight plan here, so what we're going to be doing is we'll be crossing over the main waterway here and heading into the island that Hiroshima is on, and we're going to be coming in from the southernmost side. So we're coming in from the waterway and turning into the north and west, and that should give us our approach. We'll have to see what conditions are like when we get there. Let's have a bit of a look outside of the plane here. A little too high, but we'll come in and we'll do a bit of a pattern around the place before we come in to land. I actually haven't landed here after dark before. I've only ever landed in daylight hours, so this should be fun. I expect the comment section to be full of people complaining about the landing. I'll be disappointed. See any activity down there? Almost down to 5,000 feet. Giving us a little bit of space off to spiral ourselves back down. We'll get called back here in a second for clearance. Surprise me. There we go. Alright, so 28 it is.
Beechcraft Alpha India Romeo.
Alright, so we have to spiral around to the other end. It's 28's the far side. But that's right, we still have a few thousand feet we need to drop down here before we can line up. Hopefully it won't be a little too short here. Should be fine. It's fine to me. Probably a little slower than I would like. It's pretty close to stall. Red lights, that's not good, but too late. Too low, too low, too low.
Stall.
Right, that was terrible. And I've just realised too, we forgot to turn the landing lights on. Oops.
Alpha, India Romeo, turn next taxiway.
Yeah, I will once I can actually see.
Beechcraft Alpha, India Romeo, exit runway with
Yeah, I'm getting on at tower. I'm getting on at tower. Hang on. It was. Where are they? Up. Ah, that's what I want. That one and that one. And we should have taxi light. Hey, we can see. Actually, just thinking about it, I think this is the first. Yes, I am tower. Actually, I think this is the first time I've ever done a night landing in this particular aircraft too. So. Yep, contacting ground.
118.6 for Beechcraft Alpha India Romeo.
Alright, went taxi to parking.
Hiroshima ground, Beechcraft Mike Alpha Delta Alpha India Romeo, request taxi to parking.
Beechcraft Mike Alpha Delta Alpha India Romeo, taxi to general aviation parking using taxiway Alpha.
Alright, so that will be.
Taxi
There's only
to
one
general
taxiway
aviation
here.
parking using taxiway Alpha Beechcraft Alpha India Romeo.
And I reckon it'll be in that group off the end. Because the rest will be terminals for larger aircraft, so we'll be down the far end. Anyways, ladies and gents, back in post, and that is pretty much the end of the flight. As I said, it's a nice, relaxed, laid-back flight over some really beautiful terrain. I hope anyone who plays Microsoft Flight Simulator and spends a little time in the sim actually gives this one a bit of a shot. It is definitely worth having a nice flight over. Probably could have done a little better on the landing, but hey. It wouldn't be me if I wasn't doing a bit of a dodgy landing towards the end. Anyways, as I mentioned during my just sort of rambling on during the flight, I am playing around with OnAir, so the next one will probably be me flying out of Seattle to Kuma, or somewhere in that area anyway, and actually running a bit of the OnAir's career mode, as it were, just to see exactly how it operates. Until then, remember to click that like button if you did, share and subscribe if you want to see more, and as always, take care.